Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City on Wednesdays. That's something that is, very interesting moving forward with Carson Wentz is the amount that they put on his plate for week number 1. They didn't really seem to simplify things, and he seemed to handle it.
Yeah, which was a little bit of a surprise to me because considering they wanted him to sit the bench the whole year originally, it wasn't until about a week ago where they decided that they were going to, give the offense to him. But not only did he start, but they, like you said, they gave him everything that they could possibly want him to handle, and he handled it without that much trouble at all. It was a pretty impressive performance.
Yeah, and as Gruden said this morning there's still more for him to do, that there's parts of the offense or other things that they could put in. He is an athlete. He did some read option. We didn't see a lot of that the other day. But do you also feel that there is more for him to actually that you could add to the offense?
Oh, yeah, I would think so. I mean, they probably haven't given him the entire playbook. I wouldn't think they have. So, like I said before, they were planning on going with Sam Bradford for the whole year. So they probably didn't see the need to give him that much at first. But, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more that they plan to do with him as long as he, as he gains more confidence, gets more comfortable, and gets more experience. I'm sure he'll be that much more versatile and valuable to them as the season goes on.
Yeah, Dave, why he obviously has been the big talk this week. I think a lot of the stuff under the radar is the play of some of the weapons, and that was something that was a concern coming in. How much are you buying Jordan Matthews, Nelson Aguilar? Let's start with that duo at wide receiver. Did these guys make a big advancement from this year, from last year to this year?
Well, I got to see more than one game.
Right, because we didn't see it in the preseason from Matthews, who didn't play. Yeah. And Aguilar, heck, people wanted him to play in the 4th preseason game because he didn't show anything.
Yeah. I mean, Nelson had a pretty disappointing rookie season, didn't show much in training camp or the preseason. And, yeah, it was great that he had that touchdown catch, and, he certainly showed some potential, but I got to see more of that. I mean, and it has to be against a better defense than the Cleveland Browns showed, too. And Jordan, he's always been that kind of the same kind of guy that you saw, capable of a big game, but he also has trouble holding on to the football sometimes. So I need to see him get a little more consistent, be able to handle, hold on to the football a little bit more before I'm ready to put him in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, no doubt. And on the other side, you've got Aguilar, who, I think a lot of what people were impressed from him was the touchdown catch, but the fact that he's matched up with Joe Hayden on that play, who's a pretty good corner, and he was able to get open and concentrate to catch the football, which that's been one of his problems too, is the lack of concentration. It seems that the confidence has been a big problem for Aguilar.
Yeah, and he was bothered by an injury most of last year too. I think it was a high ankle sprain that he never really got recovered from. But yeah, it's an encouraging sign for him. He's finally, playing like a first-round pick is supposed to play. But, again, he's got to do more than show it for one game. I mean, I think he showed some flashes last year, too, but then there were other games where he kind of disappeared, was a non-factor. And they do need him to step up this year because, especially this week with looks like Zach Ertz is going to get to play, so they're going to need his wide receivers that much more.
Yeah, interesting. We'll see. I'm interested in that. We'll get to the Zach Ertz thing in just a second. Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City is with us here talking about the Eagles moving forward here. There's some – Jordan Matthews was a second-round pick. Aguilar was a first-round pick. You got Green Beckham, a lot of talent. Ertz was a second-round pick. So there are guys who I guess maybe there is more than what we've seen from these guys. Maybe there is more to give, and maybe – we talked about this before you came on, Dave, that they were in a system in Chip Kelly's offense that just wasn't a great fit for them.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to mention that. Yeah, it might be like a system choice more than anything, that maybe they're just better suited for that West Coast offense than they were for Chip Kelly's stuff. Although I believe Kelly drafted both of those guys, so maybe I guess he evidently thought that they were going to be good fits for him, but for whatever reason they didn't pan out. And but yeah, so far so good with those. I mean, I know that Peterson, I think he wants to rely on the run a little bit more than the pass. And they had a pretty good balance on Sunday, I thought, with Ryan Matthews and Kenyon Barner too. So it'll be interesting to see how that moves going forward. If they can maintain that balance for the rest of the year.
Dave, you mentioned Ertz. We'll bring him in because there's a good possibility that he'll miss at least this week and potentially more. Coach Peterson says week to week. That's a really scary injury, and Coach Peterson said it's a potentially dangerous injury. So you would almost assume he's out for this week. But Trey Burton, your take on what you saw from him, because he seemed like he was this year's Mr. Lehigh with Paul Turner. Those two guys seemed like they were the stars of camp, and everybody was wondering, okay, Burton's been really good. How are they going to fit him in? Do you think that Burton will now fulfill the Ertz role in the offense?
I don't know that he's capable of doing what Zach Ertz does. He was an undrafted free agent and played primarily special teams up until this point. I mean, like you said, he did show a lot of potential during the preseason, but I'm not quite sure he can handle all the responsibilities that Zach Ertz did, and if he'll be as successful. But he's certainly shown that he's capable of doing it, and I guess they are going to have to rely on him because they need somebody alongside Brent Selleck to handle the load a little bit at tight end until Zach gets back. So yeah, Trey's the next guy up. But you're right, he was Mr. Lehigh. It was kind of like, he reminded me, I remember like 5 years ago, or even more than that, they had a guy named Cornelius Ingram that they brought in, a tight end from Florida, like Trey Burton's from Florida too.
That's right.
And he wowed everybody in training camp. He thought he was like the second coming of, Jay Novacek or something. And then the game started and disappeared. I think he hurt his knee a couple of times, and I never heard from him again. But I think Trey, he does have a lot of ability and a lot of natural ability. I mean, he's a big kid, runs well, catches the ball. So interesting to see how Doug implements him in the playbook this week.
Very interested, because Ertz was, a big, not a huge part of the offense, but made some really big plays. I mean, that one catch on the first drive, that allowed them to extend, and then the fourth down catch really put the nail in the coffin there and led to Aguilar's touchdown. So losing Ertz, not a lot of targets, but the catches he made were big.
Yeah. I think I kind of, everybody's been talking about him having a breakout year this year, and just based on Sunday, it seemed like he was well on his way to doing that. So yeah, I'm for his sake, I'm hoping that he'll be able to get back there pretty soon. I don't know much about anatomy, so I don't know. I don't know where a first rib is, and I don't know. Apparently, it's like dangerous towards your collarbone. What that has to do with your neck and head, I don't know, but apparently it is a pretty serious injury. So here's hoping that he makes a full and quick recovery.
Dave, a lot of other. Let me get your take after the game, because there were veterans that some reports that veterans were not happy. That Sam got traded. Did you see and feel
Zach
that
being one of them?
Zach being one of them, Malcolm Jenkins on the defensive side of the ball, even Jordan Matthews was very close. He was the guy banging the drum to bring him back here.
Right.
Did you see the locker room turn? Did guys say, you know what, maybe I was wrong? Maybe has he won them over already?
Publicly, yes, but I don't know about privately. I mean, they have to. I mean, what choice do they have? They have to say that kind of stuff. They have to get behind Carson because there really is no alternative. But I do think they were very close to Sam. Some of those guys were very good friends of his. And I know that they were hurt and a little disappointed when he got traded. I don't know if I know that they were kind of frustrated, I guess, because it seemed that getting rid of Bradford also altered the expectations for the team. I don't know that has changed based on one game. So I guess maybe if Carson has a couple more good games, if they find themselves in the thick of the playoff hunt, I guess at the midway point of the season or later, then maybe you might see the turnaround. I think they're probably still withholding judgment on him privately anyway.
Sure. I'd like to get your take because you've seen them all, Dave. You've seen Bobby Hoying. You've seen Kevin Cobb. You've seen Nick Foles. You've seen the flashes in the pans. Are there signs from Wentz that make you feel that he's different from those guys who all came in with a bang and fizzled out quickly after?
Honestly, I don't know yet. I do remember Bobby Hoying. I remember vividly when he made his first start against Baltimore and did very well. I think they tied that game actually, and then a couple of weeks later he went head to head with Boomer Esiason against Cincinnati and threw for 400 and some yards or something and a bunch of touchdowns, and everybody's like, okay, he's the savior. And then That didn't go very well. Kevin Cobb, I think, might have done well if he hadn't gotten hurt. Corey Detmer, Nick Foles, for that matter, with 7 touchdown passes in one game. It certainly looks good so far, but now teams have even more of him on tape. They didn't get much out of him in the preseason because he barely played, so they really didn't know what to expect. But now that they do, I would expect that opposing defensive coordinators will be able to game plan for him that much more. So it's going to be that much more difficult for him to have the kind of success he had on Sunday. But so I'm gonna withhold judgment after just one game anyway.
Which is fair, and we all should. You pump the brakes. It's a week-to-week league, and as you said, we'll see how Chicago defends them. And now that being said, Chicago not a very good team in the secondary. Defensively, they were horrible defensively last year. Don't know how much they've improved. We've only seen them 1 week, Dave, but a couple things moving forward here. Offensive.
By the way, remember 2 years ago, Mark Sanchez came in relief of Foles at Houston, and threw 2 touchdown passes, and then he was eating cheesesteaks with the fans, and everybody's like, "Oh God, Mark Sanchez is he's the favorite. He's the golden boy now, and Rex Ryan's going to have to change his tattoo." And then you saw where that happened too. So.
No doubt. Hey, I think we should all reserve judgment until And look. There's guys, Josh Freeman, great rookie year. He was the new guy, and then the next year he was down and out, and he's out of the league already. There's guys who have had solid rookie seasons, and then they kind of fall off. I mean, it is a very difficult league to be consistent. The consistent ones are the great ones, the guys who can do it week in and week out. Your offensive line helps you. We know Johnson is still up in the air. It looks like he's going to play Monday night, right? I mean, there's virtually no shot he doesn't play Monday night, because even if he gets a suspension, he'll probably appeal it and get at least another 3 or 4 games, right?
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah. I would guess that I think they're at least going to have him for the next 2 or 3 games, like you said. I would think. Although I'm not sure if he's going to once it becomes pretty evident that he's going to get the suspension. I don't know what good it does him to appeal it. I mean, you do get a couple games now, but you're going to miss out on a couple games later. So that's kind of like a dilemma for them. Whether they just take your medicine now and then they'll have them ready for the end of the year,
right?
Or do you keep playing and then hope for something changes? I'm not sure how they're going to go about it.
Offensive line played pretty well, though. I mean, that was a big concern in preseason. I thought they played pretty well, and I thought for the most part, Ryan Matthews, the 22 touches. We saw Sproles get a little involved. Barner. I mean, I thought I thought Peterson really had a good game plan.
Yeah, I was very impressed. Yeah, I mean, as much as Wentz wowed everybody, I thought that Peterson had a very good game plan and a very good game as a rookie head coach. Didn't seem like he was in over his head at all, which I was kind of worried about, to be honest with you. But he managed everything well. Really seemed on top of the game, and all credit goes to him, I think.
Yeah, now I'm going to get your take now on the defensive side of the ball, because my take coming into the season, Dave, was if they, even with Bradford specifically, and then with Wentz, obviously, if they had any shot of competing in this NFC East, it was not based on Bradford or Wentz. It's this defense, which I think is the best in the division. Whether you agree with me or not. But I thought their defense in the second half really, I know they played Cleveland, but really caused a lot of problems, specifically Fletcher Cox and then the rotating of the ends, which when Connor Barwin's able to run by Joe Thomas, who's a pretty good player, I think that shows the freshness of those ends. And if you could play defense like that in the second half of games, a lot of these games in the NFL are going to be close. That could be a big difference maker.
Yeah. I mean, they gave up a few big plays, like the first play of the third quarter, I think, went for 50-some yards, and I know there was a 44-yard pass in there somewhere, but for the most part, they really locked it down. They gave up 1 touchdown, and you give up 10 points, you really can't ask for more than that. And I thought that Jim Schwartz had an excellent game plan as well. Like you said, did a very good job of rotating everybody in, and got the most out of his talent. I thought I was a little surprised that Michael Kendricks was the guy who came off the field. And
that doesn't sound like it's going to change. That doesn't sound like it's going to change.
No. Kendricks is really on the doghouse now. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he can even keep his starting job. But I don't know if they want to move, Hicks around. I mean, he looked pretty good in the middle the other day, so I don't know if they want to, put Tulloch in there or not. But Kendricks, for whatever reason, he just doesn't seem to be Jim Schwartz's favorite right about now.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. You brought up Tulloch. I don't remember hearing his name much at all. But if you're a fan of the Pro Football Focus stuff, they had Jordan Hicks as the highest ranked, highest graded out player on the Eagles, and I think that's interesting because last year his name kept coming up because he was forcing fumbles and interceptions and making plays. This year. This game anyway, you almost would go through the game and didn't hear his name, and even though he played well, but that's not what the grades show. It shows that he was very solid, which shows you it's a different defense.
Yeah, they don't look for guys to really. They don't want. It's not really like one guy that's going to stand out unless you're Fletcher Cox or maybe Vinny Curry or Connor, like you said. It's a very stout defense. Everybody knows their role, and everybody plays their role to the best that they can. They don't try to do too much. Don't try to play out of character at all, and that's the mark of a good defense. When everybody knows their responsibilities and don't try to do too much. That's what, and you get the kind of results that you saw on Sunday.
Yeah, and Fletcher Cox, I thought, for the most part, he earned his money. They were doubling him all day. They had problems with him all day, and that opened. Vinny Curry's another one. I thought, while his name was not in the stat sheet, it looked like he was getting held and tackled on the one play. I mean, he looks like those two guys I think are going to be a handful and open up a lot. You might see Brandon Graham and Barwin get some big numbers because of those two guys this year.
Yep, you're definitely right. Yeah, that rotation looked really good. And I'm not sure what they're going to do with Bo Allen. He looked pretty good at fullback, too, so I don't know if they're going to let him play defense now.
Hey, McKelvin, if he doesn't play, what's the deal?
That's a good question. I guess they go with Ron Brooks and Jalen Mills maybe in the slot.
Yeah.
Maybe move Brooks outside and put Jalen. I'm a little worried about Mills. I mean, I know he played. I guess he played okay on Monday, or last week, but I'm not sure that he's ready for a starting job yet. So that's going to be interesting to see if he can handle the role, because I know the Bears don't have a whole lot of talent anymore. But they lost a lot of guys, but Cutler's still capable of putting up big numbers, and now Sean Jeffries is still there. So we're interesting to see how they deal with those guys.
No doubt, that's a team. For some reason on offense, they just haven't been able to do it. Cutler, Forte's gone, but the kid Langford, played pretty well. And Alshon Jeffrey's a pretty. They've got some skill position players. Their line's pretty bad, but their defense is bad. So I'm interested to see how the Eagles attack this Bears defense. You're going in with Wentz. You just don't want them to hit the accelerator too fast.
Who? The Eagles?
Yes, in terms of the Eagles thinking, all right, this kid can handle much more. Let's go a little faster here.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I had a buddy of mine after they took like a big lead on Sunday. He was asking me what time did the Super Bowl tickets go on sale.
Yeah.
And that's typical of an Eagles fan.
Sure.
Too. I mean, I know he's joking, but gosh, if they go 2-0, man, the whole town's going to be, oh my gosh, this is the year. Oh, and I'm like, pump the brakes a little first, guys.
Look again. Even if Wentz plays over his head a little bit, the success and failure of this team is on Jim Schwartz's defense. Absolutely right, and they got a tough road to haul too. With Steelers coming in the next week after that, they got to play the AFC North, the Bengals in Baltimore. You got the NFC North with Green Bay and Minnesota. So yeah, it's not going to be an easy road for them. No, and if they would have lost that game last year to the Giants, they could have gone to London and played those Rams. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Cost us a trip to England. Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City. On Wednesdays, we'll talk with Dave as they get ready to take on the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football, and could be 2-0 for the second time. 3 years here they would be 2-0 to start the season. So we'll see how that goes. Dave, always a pleasure, pal. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.